Welcome back, everyone. The reveals for the upcoming 2024 Monster Manual just keep on coming. We've gotten a lot more previews in this past few days.
Yeah, from Undead to Monstrosities, Aberrations, Oozes, Fey and Giants, there's a lot to talk about in today's episode. I'm Eugene.
And I'm Eddie, and welcome to another episode of The Middle-Aged Barbarians.
Here on Middle-Aged Barbarians, we like to cover a wide range of topics of all things geek, from tabletop RPGs to board games, media reviews, and news updates.
So whether you're new to the RPG scene or jaded veterans like us, stick around to watch this pair of guys be barbaric and tear your boredom to shreds. So
My guy, there has been like 5 videos.
Yes, and I've never seen any one, so enlighten me a bit.
Well, I do have a bonus point. I think in the previous episode that we talked about the monsters and stuff, and we mentioned what we think would be coming, either you or I mentioned something about magic skeletons.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we got a bonus point for that one. They did mention something about skeletons wielding arcane magic and stuff.
Oh, so it's not a template per se, but
No, a different type.
Oh, that's cool.
So let's get straight into it because we got quite a bit to cover here. They talked about Undead, which in my opinion was the more satisfactory of the videos, where I think they talked more about like actual stuff. I mean, not that I like, but like more stuff that they were doing. A lot of stuff coming with vampires. They mentioned new versions, amping up the CR options. They were adding familiars. They were adding intermediate type of vampire, which are Nightbringers, and then like a higher level, which would be the Umbral Lords. So a lot of variety for the Bloodsuckers coming in.
That reminds me of the Nightmares from 3rd edition. The names they used. You remember the Night Suckers? Those creatures from the Plane of Shadow? I don't know if it's
not really.
Oh, never mind. They're inserting an image here.
Yeah, they're coming out with something called the Gravecaller, which is another ghastly option. They say it's an arcane undead. They mention it like being like a very, very weak lich. Actually, had nothing to do with lichdom, but they mentioned like the players walking into the lair and seeing this undead surrounded by magical stuff, and them thinking, "Hey, this might be a lich," and then it's not being. So that was kind of cool. They talk about revenants, and a couple cool options. Graveyard Revenant, which is going to be like this giant mound of corpses coming out of the graveyard, and then the other option. You ever see a movie called Monster House?
No, but I know what it's about.
It's an animation where the kids went into a house and the house is possessed by a spirit.
Yes.
It's that. They call it a... What was it? I have my notes on my phone, sorry. A haunting revenant.
Oh, cool. Kind of like Baba Yaga's hut, except undead.
A lot of mentions of Baba Yaga here and in the Fey, so I think they...
Yeah, Baba Yaga is a very interesting character. Even though they misused it in John Wick. It makes no sense that that's his nickname in John Wick.
Yeah, the boogeyman. But she isn't the boogeyman, but...
She's not the boogeyman.
Yeah, but I think that's what they were trying to convey with him.
Yeah.
Swarms of crawling claws.
Oh, awesome.
Not just one crawling up, a swarm.
Imagine you control them and use them for massages. Or something like that.
That sounds like a good...
like an interesting...
not a PG-rated use of crawling claws.
Yeah, of course. Kind of your very, very more morbid undead caster that...
Need to come back with the Book of Vile Deeds. And what was the blue one? The Book of Blue Magic? Or the...
I don't know.
It was like a sex magic book or something?
It wasn't from Wizards.
It wasn't an official product.
Yeah, but I remember that.
But Wizards, get on it. I mean, you're into this.
Yeah, I mean, there are tons of... The sky's the limit.
Yeah. They mentioned a rework of the Dracolich, where it's not going to be a template like it was in the previous edition. If I'm not mistaken, that's how they mentioned it was. It's going to be its own thing, so it's going to actually feel like something special. Not just, this is an undead red dragon Dracolich or something. It's something more. Something more. And some quick mention about Death Knights and the minions. And I have noticed they mentioned a lot of minions. They're bringing back, if I'm not mistaken, like this 4th edition.
The mechanic of the minions.
The mechanic of the minion
that's
enemies.
Awesome. That's
where you just
great.
have like thousands of cannon fodder and things for your players to hack through and kill.
Yeah, and use those nice special attacks that hit a lot of people. The spellcaster can feel the satisfaction of.
Yeah, I mean, and out of all the videos that I saw, these previous videos, I think this is the one where I saw them enjoy themselves more. There's a lot of love for Undead, so I'm hopeful for this. Then the next video moved on to what Monstrosities are.
What, it's like Aberrations or?
No, Aberrations was the next video. They kind of mentioned Monstrosities as being when you mix two different things or mix monsters or more mythological. That's kind of like the explanation they give. Whatever. They're moving a lot of creatures around.
Yeah, that sounds like it. Like what we talked about the goblins into Fey.
Yeah, they go into that, but we'll talk about that later because there was an episode about Fey. Oh yeah, the producer's freaking out. I guess he hasn't watched it either. Lots of movement of monsters amongst the different categories. Lycanthropes will now be a monstrosity.
Oh, interesting.
They mentioned that they're going to be including a lot of mimic variants. You could always play a mimic any way you wanted. I remember in the old school there were at least doors and chests, even beds. Now they're going to be including the actual stats.
Oh, so it's actually mechanically different.
I would wait to see, but that's what they gave me. That's the impression they gave me.
And if you make them box shaped, it can be like
it could be a tissue mimic.
The Gom Jabbar.
You can leave your tissue box mimic next to the computer, and that would really suck. Yeah. Next to the mimic lotion.
There we go.
This episode has gone sideways quick. They mentioned a new owlbear variant, the Primeval owlbear, which is a higher CR, and it's a little bit more dangerous, and it has a flight speed of cool. 5 feet.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, they kind of mentioned that it's in case like the owlbear was up in a tree and wanted to safely drop down. But they did not discard the fact that you could have a swarm of owlbears assaulting a town, flying through the air
really slowly.
Very slowly.
Or with magic, you can give them extra flying speed.
Gust of wind, push them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was kind of cool. They are adding the land sharks, the bullet?
Of course.
Bullets,
I think.
Bullets.
Boulet, that sounds kind of Cajun. The boulet, my friend.
Boulet pup. They're adding little pups, little baby boulets you could fight with. And a bigger, badder cockatrice.
Cockatrices, speaking of going sideways, but cockatrices are very, very cool.
So now you have a more dangerous cockatrice with a more dangerous turn your ass to stone power. So, I mean, that's always welcomed. There's a video about aberrations and oozes.
Aberrations, I'm guessing they're going more in the Lovecraftian way. They're kind of the far realms.
A little bit, yeah. They actually mentioned a lot about the Giths, the Githyanki's, Githzerai. They're adding more variants to both peoples. And
those parents are going to Aberrations?
They're in the Aberration group. Oh. As well as Mind Flayers, Grimlocks, Kuatoas, Slads, Piercers, Ropers, and more. They're all getting grouped into the
Aberrations. Interesting.
The Aberrations thing. They mentioned the Beholders. Beholders are getting... They mentioned like a mechanical reworking to balance out the CR and make it as deadly as the CR should be. Giving a new table for the eye usage and stuff like that. So they're reworking that. Now, there's something I do want to talk about that may be a little sensitive. They say that part of their ideas behind reworking some of these creatures, I'm going to quote this because I wrote it down verbatim. They say, if every monster just ends up being a human in a monster suit, that takes away the specialness. Would you agree?
Yes, makes sense.
Now, I kind of wish they had this same focus or mentality when they actually looked at the races and the species.
That makes sense.
Because all the races and the species are basically the same thing. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just bitching about stuff from before.
But it actually makes sense because these monsters is supposed to be a little bit alien. Have you ever read or seen the movie Solaris? Read the book or the movie Solaris? It's about A bunch of people travel to a planet, and the planet turns out to be a whole sentient being, but due to the alienness of communicate, it's basically an ocean. The ocean that covers the planet is the sentient being, but because it's so big and different, they cannot really understand it.
Okay.
So sometimes
So they're like bacteria on our body?
basically the humans in the planet are basically bacteria, and the planet reacts to them. It like puts images, it takes out images from their mind and makes it physical to interact with, but you're never sure if the planet is actually conscious per se or just reacting, and there's no way of knowing because it's too strange.
Oh, that's cool. No, I'll have to check that out.
Solaris. There are two versions, the Soviet version and one with George Clooney. Yeah, even the George Clooney one is good. The Soviet one is amazing. It's one of the best movies made by the Soviets. It's very, very good.
Okay, I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Now, on the Ooze category, they are coming out with... Oh, wait, just before I mentioned, because I didn't write it down here, but they also talk about the Tarrasque. They will be doing some updates to the Tarrasque, making it, I guess, more deadly or more... I don't know. The Ooze... The Ooze, they're coming out with a giant ooze called the Blob of Annihilation.
Oh my God.
Which reminded me of the Tarrasque thing. Not that Tarrasque is an aberration, that's in the Monstrosity, if I'm not mistaken. But they mentioned like the Tarrasque would look over and see the blob destroying a city and be like, nope, and just walk away. It's that big of a
deal.
Big of a deal.
Like the movie The Thing. This is
Now,
the thing.
the art, I think...
The Blob, sorry.
I'll see if I can find the actual artwork, if we can put this here, and I'll show it to you. The artwork is pretty cool for the Blob of Annihilation. It's like this giant purple thing just taking out a town. It's great. We got Fey news. They're trying to revamp the Feyness to better showcase the savage beauty of the Feywild, be it the benevolent or the feral side of the Fey. Producer, hold on to your seat, because the whole Goblinoid family now belongs to the Fey. Yeah, so no more casting hold person on those goblins. This does extend to hobgoblins, bugbears,
And so forth, all of them.
and even wargs.
Ogres? No.
No ogres are in the giant category. They mentioned those.
Oh,
in
yeah,
the-
of course.
in the
There
last
always
one.
been giants. Sorry.
So yeah, I mean, I guess they kind of justify that, saying that their origins are from the Fae.
So it makes
They're
sense.
mischievous creatures. So yeah, they have that Faeness within them, and it's going to be an interesting mechanical restructure, because I mean, hold person was an easy spell to try to capture one or control them, and you're not going to be able to do that anymore.
Yeah, you're going to have to use more powerful magic, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, they mentioned some variants in the goblins.
No, but it makes sense. I mean, it seems like a pre-campaign, sort of a backdoor to a campaign, to exploring the Feywild could be its own whole thing. I mean, the way you mentioned they've been exploring it.
Yeah, I mean, they mentioned centaurs, satyrs, they mentioned dryads, naiads, and all those creatures. They're adding an archhag as a new very high
Of course, the
CR
hags have
level,
always been Fey.
going back to the Baba Yaga. And they do mention, was it, producer, correct me if I'm wrong, was it the Big Bees Monster Vault, or what, I forgot the actual name of the book, where they mention like playable monster races for characters? I think there was one where you could actually pick stats for like a kobold and different monster types.
Not in Big but yes.
Was it Mordenkainen's monsters?
Before that,
I forget. It was one of the later monster books that came out in the 2014 variant.
maybe more than Canyon or Tasha's.
Well, I think it was one of those. And there were like some options for creating monster characters. So they do go at lengths to say that the races and species that you as a player have access to are in a way from a different lineage or a different ancestry. They use the example of, like, I think elves, if I'm not mistaken. They mentioned something about elves, like the playable elves are a different line than monster elves or creature elves.
It makes sense.
And fae. That's how they justify it, I guess, in a way.
So there are going to be elves that count as humanoids and elves that count as Fey.
I don't know. I imagine.
Yeah, that would make sense because
Unless the player counts as a fae. I don't know. It's
messy.
we'll wait and see what the.
It sounds messy, but it could not be messy. I mean,
Yeah. The last video that actually came out, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday, was the giant video, and they mentioned the classical giants getting their CRs rebalanced, trying to add in more of the flavor, elemental flavor of each of the classical types of giants, and balancing out their melee and ranged attacks. So
Of course. So yeah, because it's usually been, if you manage to hit them hard on range, they're practically done for, most of them.
So we'll see how that works out. They add a lot of variants to Ettins, Cyclops, Ogres, Trolls, and Fomorians, specifically mentioning like an Arcane Cyclops, like a Seer, like a... Yeah, they mentioned it'd be like a Cyclops that had visions of the future and magical powers and stuff.
Oh, that's cool. Like the Fates, kind of. Like the Greek Fates, but a monster. A
But
huge
nasty.
monster.
And something I thought was kind of cool, the Trolls. Now, I've never used this option, so I don't know exactly when it came out or how long it's been out for. They talk about what's called a loathsome limb, which apparently, like, if you cut off the arm can still keep moving and attacking and doing stuff. They're adding the mechanics for that, was what I understood. And they even mentioned, like, the possibility of that limb eventually over time regenerating into a whole
full
new
monster, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of cool. So yeah, man, a lot of stuff coming out in the book. I mean, I don't know how many more videos they could possibly have.
It seems very flavorful. Like each whole grouping of monsters seems like a campaign that you could focus on that specific kind of monster.
Yeah, and they, I mean, you like it or not, and I think it's a good idea or not, they do seem to have put a lot of thought into how they're restructuring everything and regrouping. So I mean, I'm hopeful. What has me not so hopeful is the fact that I've been keeping an eye out to get the alternative cover book like the previous ones, and I have not found it for
Oh my
sale.
gosh.
So I'm stressing out a little bit. I mean, even though we have access to the D&D Beyond one, pre-access and all that stuff later, I really want my alt cover.
Of course. So that it looks nice in the bookshelf.
Yeah, it has to look pretty.
Yeah, of course. I mean, makes sense. Oh, well, you can still I'll draw you one and you can.
We just stick it on there.
Yeah, there we go. Usually.
Nah, I don't think a proxy monster manual will be.
No, it wouldn't be as cool. Yeah. Yeah, one of my friends gave me as a gift like his old D&D stuff, and he gave me a full like binder of photocopies, and he had like a stack this big. I'm like, like from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And this
Yeah.
this is nice. Thank you, bro. Yeah, recycled.
So is there any one particular thing or things that you are looking forward to in the new update?
Yeah, the whole, like I told you, the whole campaign, particularly the Feywild, seems very, very interesting for me, because maybe we can do a whole video about this, but there's this series I highly recommend. It's called Mr. Norrell and Jonathan Strange. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Mr. Norrell and Jonathan Strange.
Yeah, very nice, simple title.
Is there Papa's Pizza in one of those? That's a different Strange.
That's a different Strange. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's a different Jonathan Strange. It's kind of, I don't want to say Harry Potter, but it's in Britain. It's about magic, but it's about magic kind of in the Victorian era. And basically, the main deal is that magic has not been in England for a long time, and it comes back. And part of the way it comes back is because one guy, a magician, makes a deal with the Fey. And the Fey is very interesting because even though he's the antagonist, he's not evil per se. He's just, his motivations are really bizarre. I mean, they make sense once the story advances, but because the motivations are so bizarre, you're a kind of logical human. You're like, why does he do that sort of stuff?
Right.
So I'm hoping something like that flavor in the Fey, with the Fey comes more across, because I feel a lot of the time the Fey have been a little underutilized. So
every time I think of Feywild and I think of like pop culture or media and stuff, I always think of I've only saw the movies, I know there's books, but the Spiderwick Chronicles.
Oh yeah, of course.
I always thought that was a really cool way of portraying it and actually having it be here, like that second plane of existence that's veiled and always around you. I'm looking to run a Curse of Strahd later on with my newbies when we finish the homebrew. And so I'm really, really looking forward to see what they do with like the vampire
undeads,
familiars and the skeletons and the undeads and maybe some zombie variants and stuff like that, which would be kind of cool.
Yeah, even the ghouls seem very interesting the way they seem portrayed now.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
All right. Well, we'll see that soon. Hopefully, with your special nice cover.
Hopefully.
Yes.
All right.
Right. So that's the end of the video. If you haven't already, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. And please feel free to leave us your comments, suggestions, and questions below.
Also, come follow us on our other social media like Instagram and, it's still around, TikTok. And join us on our Discord channel over on the ND Hobby server. Links in the description.
And as always, remember to
Rage responsibly.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Roll the